Gamers, my friends, welcome back, welcome back, welcome in. Hey, check it out, right? So my NASCAR 25 Developer Diary 3 video did actually pretty well. The numbers are still climbing on it. We're currently at about 200 views after 2 days. So that's really neat. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Any comments that you have on that video, please go ahead and leave them down below because in this video, I'm going to be making kind of a wish list, kind of a expectations video for NASCAR 25, and then I'll kind of update this video um, as more developer diaries come out, as we get gameplay, screenshots, things like that, right? So, um, in the developer diary, they went extensively into career mode. That was basically what the whole video was about. And I do like that. I do like getting out above or out ahead of that very quickly in the development cycle to be able to talk about that. I hope that in their next video or two they break down like how they take care of physics and like car setups and stuff like that. And that is going to be my top number one wish list item for this video. I had mentioned in that video that the one thing that really irritated me about the NASCAR Heat franchise was that your career mode setups and your regular race setups were separate. For somebody like me, who, yes, I do play the career mode quite a bit on NASCAR Heat 5, I have it on both my laptop and my console. I don't really much care for the setups being separated because if you just want to, mess around and just do a quick race, and you don't have a setup, you have to go in, put the setup in, practice, do all that kind of stuff. Where someone like me, like on the older NASCAR games, like NASCAR 15, 14, 2013, Inside Line, what I did was I basically I had two versions of each setup. I had one that was like a faster setup. I had one that was really good for tire wear. Um, and then I had my qualifying setups, and I had that for every track. And one thing that would be nice is if they had the same kind of database like those Utechnics games had, where you can use the setups across your testing session, your race now mode, and your career mode. I understand that the online setups would be kind of separate. At least that's how they were in the Utechnics games. Maybe they might have been the same. I'm not sure. I haven't raced online in those games in a long time, obviously, because you can't anymore. But yeah, just having your setups in one place and not having them separate for your career mode, your regular race mode. I think that that would be one thing just to kind of tie everything in. Just have a database for your cup setups, a database for your Xfinity, your truck, your Arkham and Ards cars, but just have them so that you can access them across all of your race modes. I think that that would be beneficial because, like what I did when NASCAR Heat 4 and 5 came out, and I even did this on the Utechnics games, NASCAR Inside Line and then NASCAR 14, which even though the physics in those games were very quite similar to each other, same with NASCAR, oh, excuse me, Heat 4 and 5, the first thing I did was I basically just took pictures on my phone of all of my setups from the previous game. I went into a test mode. I put the setup in, made minimal adjustments, if any, and then saved them. And then I was able to access them across the entire game. So if they could find a way to do that, I think that would be absolutely phenomenal. Um, I think that again, that would just help. I think that would just help the average gamer, not so much the hardcore side of gamers. I think just for the average gamer, if they are able to just input a setup, save it, and then just use it across the entire game, I think that would be pretty cool. Um, and then for number two on this list would have to be the create a car mode, right? I think that everybody agrees that some of the funnest things to do um, back in the Utechnics days, and then even 21 Ignition had a really, really good paint booth. If you can bring us a paint booth back similar to that, where we can make our own car designs, I think that would be really, really cool. Because I spent countless hours on the 360 on NASCAR 2011, Inside Line, 2013 and 14. Even on my laptop, I have, I think NASCAR 15, and I spent quite a bit recreating old paint schemes that I used to love watching on the racetrack. I got a bunch of old Kevin Harvick ones. Being a Harvick fan, I have a bunch of old RCR ones. I have some Dale Earnhardt Jr. ones, Jimmy Johnson. You spend a lot of time in the paint booth, and it's really cool when you're able to race it online and show it off to your friends. I raced in a couple of different leagues back in the day, and one of them was strictly a custom car league where you had to run your custom car and it was your paint. But I mean, obviously, you could paint it to look like a real life counterpart. You just had to have your number in the league on that car. So if we could do something kind of like that again, that would be really, really cool. I know a lot of people are talking about the implementation similar to what iRacing has with trading paints. I know that EA used to have that way back in the day with NASCAR '09, the EA locker where you could design the car online, upload it into like your online save file. You could download it to your console and save it that way. I don't foresee iRacing being able to do that probably within the first few versions of the game, but maybe once the game matures and the game gets older, maybe the second or third game in the series, maybe they could do something similar to that. The only problem is that you got to kind of find a way to police, kind of have to find a way to police that NSFW, if you would. People making like porn star paint schemes and hentai paint schemes and things like that. I understand that with a NASCAR game, the rating may be at the highest being T for teen just because of the alcohol sponsors. Um, I, I get that you have to be able to police that, especially for the younger kids in the game if they're doing online racing. I understand that you have to kind of keep an eye on that. Um, Unless they had a thing where, for the online racing, you have to be a certain age because of what may or may not be on those cars. Also because of, the language of the lobby, from how people talk in, the race lobby and stuff. I'm also really interested to see how that kind of plays out as well. But for the paint booth, just give us a full paint booth in the game, just like it was in 21 Ignition, NASCAR in 2011 through 2015. If you could give us paint booths like that, I think that would satisfy a lot of your gamer base, both the average fans and the hardcore racers alike. Like I said, I spent a lot of time in the paint booth. I'm sure a lot of other people have. You could go back and find Reddit posts. Uh, you could find videos on YouTube of people creating paint schemes. You see those all over the place, and it was a cool little part of that point in time of the NASCAR gaming genre was just people creating paint schemes. So, you know, I think that if you could bring us a full paint booth game one, if you bring in an implementation similar to trading paints later down the road, or if somebody can make a program similar to trading paints, because I don't think trading paints and iRacing are related. I think they're standalone programs from each other. But yeah, if you're able to do something like that later down the road, excellent, cool. By all means, go right on ahead and do it. Um, but for now, full paint booth, I think that would be fine for everybody. Number three, which arguably you could also put at number one, the career mode depth. As we saw in the developer diary, it looks like this game is shaping up to be very, very in depth. It's looking like it's going to be a cross between like Dirt to Daytona and Thunder 0304, as far as how you have to build out your race shop and manage your parts and your money quite heavily. We'll see how they expand upon that, being that it is a game coming out in 2025. You're gonna, instead of just managing, race shop upgrades, you're also gonna have to manage what parts you buy, sets of tires that you buy, things like that. Um, but I'm curious as to see, is that depth the same for every single series where you have to manage the exact same things from the Cup Series all the way down to the Arca Menard Series. Would it be the same where you have to worry about buying your suspension parts, your roll cages, your body panels, your tires, engines, transmissions? Is all of that the same from the bottom all the way to the top? Or is the Arca Menard Series kind of get your feet wet, and then you start really building out everything in the truck series, what would make sense? Because again, you want to be able to cover your bases for the hardcore gamers that want to do absolutely everything, manage everything, and really grind out through the career mode. But then at the same time, down here for the casual gamer who may not want to manage all of that, is there options for them to be able to do that but still be on the owner part instead of just being in the driver part of the career mode, right? So can you find a balance of settings for basically three different types of career mode gameplay? You got your driver side, which you just worry about the driving, and then you got like a casual career mode where like you can budget out for the big stuff and not so much the small stuff that doesn't really matter. And then your hardcore career mode where you handle everything down to the dollar. I'm curious as to how that would work out, but again, if they have this depth all the way through all four series, I think that that would be absolutely crazy insane because that would be basically NASCAR Thunder 2004 and Dirt to Daytona through every single series. And that depth could really make that career mode a grind out where instead of, like, for instance, in my Heat 5 career mode, um, I started in the truck series because I didn't really care for the dirt series. I did it in Heat 4. I just skipped it all together for Heat 5. Uh, but once you get your car up to like that 80, 90% ish, it's really easy to win a championship, and then just move on to the next series, right? And I did it to where I basically got my series to full strength, and then I won a championship, and then I moved on. Like I didn't race under contracts in the series above me pretty much at all. I really didn't. I did the hot seats. I just didn't do a full season to basically just stack money. And then when you go up into that series, you got a whole bunch of money sitting there to just get a whole bunch of upgrades right away. But even then, it only took about 5 or 6 seasons to win a championship in the Cup Series. And then get your car to 100% only takes about a season and a half to have everything maxed out at 100. And then once you have that 10% speed bonus, it's almost impossible to lose no matter how hard you make the career mode. Once you have that 10% speed bonus, it's almost impossible to lose. So can you make the career mode harder in that aspect where maybe it takes you 10 seasons to get uh, your Cup Series competitive enough to go win a championship? Like from starting day one in the Arkham Menard series, you have to make the playability to where, and I know it's a very hard balance to strike, but you want to get it to where it's not easy enough that you could just float through, but not hard enough that you basically want to give up. So how do you find that balance? How do you get that playability for people to just keep coming back and wanting to race in the career mode? And also for content creators, like Real Radman is out there, What If Racing is out there, um, WinVow 8820, he's out there. Um, I love watching their career mode stuff. I watch it in my free time. I watch it when I'm at work, when I'm either down doing setups or on my lunch and breaks. Sometimes I just put it on in the background and just have my headphones in just so I can listen to the content, right? So, like, how can you make the playability replayable so that people can really um, stretch out the content making for those who are content creators? I think that that's going to be also extremely interesting to see how that plays out. So I would definitely put that one at my number three. Um, how does your career mode progress, and how much does it make you want to keep playing their career mode? You have to make it replayable a bunch, but also not to where it feels like you're starting to stagnate. So how do you balance that? Um, and then obviously, for my number four here, the car and AI physics. I'm not sure. I I haven't done iRacing in quite a while, since I don't have a desktop anymore. I haven't done iRacing since maybe 2019 or 2020. Um, I have done AI racing on my laptop. My laptop can handle that. but I can't handle the online racing. It just takes up too many resources on my laptop. So, I mean, I know that the iRacing AI has gotten pretty decent year over year since its initial release. Um, and with Monster Games creating it, I thought that their Heat 4 physics was okay, and Heat 5 was okay. I wouldn't say that it was, over the world fantastic. Um, but can you also bring it back to like those 2012 to 2015 where the cars just felt heavier and more reliant on the setup and throttle input, things like that. Because on Heat 4 and 5, some of the racetracks, you could just keep your foot on the pedal and just 100% throttle all the way around the racetrack. And that was the trucks all the way up to the Cup Series. If you knew what you were doing with the setups. Same thing for NASCAR 21 Ignition. It didn't matter if you were in the Gen 6 or Gen 7 car, but also you couldn't put setups in on that game. You basically just had a slider of loose to tight type of setup. So, how do you get a workaround to bring a car where a real adjustment that you make in the setup matters, and like your throttle input and your braking matters for the hardcore gamers, but also for the gamers that don't really care too much about the setups. They just want to do the slider thing, tight to loose, and just go. Um, I do have faith in them being able to pull it off, though, to make the physics model, at least in a hardcore mode, very, very realistic because they got developers all over the place in terms of the NASCAR world. They got people from Papyrus. They got people from EA, U-Technics, Monster Games. They got people from iRacing also helping them out and working on it. So, I mean, there's people all over the NASCAR landscape that have worked on NASCAR games for a very, very long time. So there's people that could put input from all over the place. So I have no problems in believing that they can get it done. It is just that is on my wish list. I need the cars to be more realistically driving because when you're at the old Atlanta on NASCAR Heat 5, there's no reason that you should be at 100% throttle all the way around the racetrack, like especially with the Xfinity cars, because the Xfinity cars actually drive a lot like the older Cup cars do, because of the type of package that those cars just race with these days. So you have a lot of off throttle time in the Xfinity series. In the NASCAR Heat 4 and 5, there was none. You just mat it and just keep racing. So, yeah, I'm just curious as to see how they balance that out. And then number 5 for this game would just be releasable content, DLC, paint schemes, that sort of thing. Um, I don't really care if it's paid or if like you get like a season pass that makes those paid DLCs essentially free because you bought the season pass. But you know, you have to be able. I just need more DLC content. Like if they're able to do like a monthly DLC release where it's got paint schemes from every race ran, I think that would be cool. I know that that's a lot of paint schemes for drivers that basically run a new paint scheme every single weekend. Um, but at the same time, I mean, I think that just brings to the realism of NASCAR in the gaming world where you could go select a driver and you can run the exact paint scheme that he ran at the spring race in Martinsville. And then you can run that paint scheme at Martinsville. Or like the Coke Zero 400. You could run whatever race or run whatever paint scheme for whatever driver that they ran just at that race. And then obviously with the coding, can they get it to where for each update they put it in the coding to tell the game for each driver for each track, this is the paint scheme they ran, this is the paint scheme that should be ran in the race in the game. I think that there's a way to be able to do that. I think that the NASCAR modding community has shown that there is a way to do that. You see it on NASCAR Racing 2003 season. People have done it for like NASCAR Thunder 2003 and 4 and NASCAR 05, NASCAR 06, just with mods. They can input what paint scheme somebody ran at a specific race, and that is the paint scheme that will show up in that race in the game. So I think that they could do that. I think that that is not something horribly out of reach. I understand that that might be an updatable thing once a month. I mean, if you could do it every week, that would be freaking sweet. Uh, But obviously, with the amount of resources that those kind of updates would take up, it makes kind of more sense for that to be like a monthly update type of thing. But then, yeah, so can you do that to where you can release paint schemes every month, give, multiple paint schemes to multiple drivers? Because even in the last couple of games, we saw paint scheme updates, and some drivers still did not get paint schemes. So I think depending on how many developers you have supporting the game after it's released, because we all know how the gaming world works. Once a game's released, the developer team basically almost right away starts working on the next game. But for the people who are left in support, can you can you work on paint schemes throughout the season? Can you work on, a monthly release, that sort of thing, and do it for every driver? Like, I don't want a DLC where drivers are missing paint schemes. Just make it complete. I think that that would also kind of excite some drivers or some players, because some people just want to race their favorite driver's favorite paint scheme. And if you release it in a DLC, that'll have them coming back because the game now allows them to race it. So they'll want to come back and play the game, maybe just for a specific couple of paint schemes. I mean, that's just how the NASCAR gaming world works. So, um, also, smaller updates here and there, physics related for fixes, maybe once you have some, real world data, maybe you could adjust, how the tracks drive in the spring versus the fall event. Because some tracks, we see that where they race completely different at the beginning of the season versus in the playoffs. They just do, just because of time of year, temperature, and things like that. They race a complete 180 from each other. So can you also find a way to do that? Who knows, right? But yeah, this is just a top five of things that I would like to see in NASCAR 25. So, my NASCAR gamers, let me know what you guys think about the upcoming NASCAR 25 game. Let me know your wish list for the game. We'll see what us as a community can kind of come up with together. But I'm just curious. Let me know what you want to see in NASCAR 25. And gamers, I will catch you in the next one.